Growing up in a devout Christian household, there are a couple of things I can say I've taken for granted. Like waking up at the crack of dawn to go to Sunday school, like church services that took way too long. But most importantly, if I was a good little boy and sang extra loud in church, I would be rewarded with a trip to my beloved, the California Pizza Kitchen. Because let me tell you, when I was there at CPK with a slice of margarita in hand, my defenses down, my mother would reveal to me the actual nefarious reason for luring me to the mall that day. Nordstrom shopping. My mother would forcibly attach a child leash to me so she could drag me up and down the aisles of the department store. And while I stood there for what felt like an eternity, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. I noticed a chair. Because let me tell you, when I sat down in that chair, it was the greatest feeling of all time. Chairs are lifesavers. And yet, when they save our lives, we never seem to give them credit where it's due. So today, let's spend the next 9 minutes finally giving chairs the attention they deserve. By first, analyzing the history of chairs. Before second, taking a look at the sophistication that they possess. Before third, and finally, understanding the real impact that chairs can have on our lives. Because sometimes, it's the things that we value the least that we end up appreciating the most. The chair is an invention that has withstood the test of time for generations. Some of the earliest chairs date all the way back to the early dynastic period of Egypt, roughly 5,000 years ago. But these chairs, these are not your average chairs. You see, these were meticulously crafted using only the finest materials available, and took thousands of hours to complete. Therefore, because of the sheer amount of time and wealth it took to craft these wonderful works of art, chairs were viewed as a luxury, a symbol of political power and authority. And for thousands upon thousands of years, this notion remained relatively the same. That was until the 19th century, when society had undergone an industrial revolution and the demand for the newly mass-produced chairs went from good to great to excellent. But along the chair's way to the top, it was with a teeny tiny problem in consumerism. You see, once everyone had one of the chair, nobody wanted it anymore. Seemingly overnight, the interest in the chair just plummeted, because the chair went from being viewed as a luxurious item to a common household essential. And therefore, because of this, it was beginning to be taken for granted. Yet despite this, new forms of the chair began to emerge. With the rise of radio and television in the 20th century, the average citizen was spending more time in their home, and therefore required more comfort. This led to the development of such items known as the sleeper chair, which adds additional ottoman support for your feet, as well as my dad's personal favorite anytime it's Sunday night football, the recliner. The first chair to add a reclining backside. However, it wasn't until the 1960s when the chair would finally be able to reach its perfect form. Behold, the ergonomic chair. It's slick, it's slender, and it's most definitely sexy. The ergonomic chair, also dubbed the office chair, is designed to accommodate as many different body types as possible. But along the chair's way to perfection, it's definitely had its stumbles. Take the monoblock chair, for example. While it is cheap and easy to mass produce, just, oh my god, is it uncomfortable to sit in. I mean, look at the angles on this thing, it's just a... Nevertheless, despite the monoblocks quirks, it still excels at being an easily mass-produced chair that can be applied to a wide variety of situations, whether it be for this mass production on the go or luxurious comfort at home. The chair has remained an integral part of history. And now that we've analyzed the history of chairs, it's about time we take a look at the science, the sophistication, and most importantly, how a chair works. So I will bring on the great honor of demonstrating just that. Observe. Well, now you know how chairs work. I'm so glad you came to this speech and... What's that? You want to learn more about chairs? Well, why didn't you say so? You see, there's actually a lot more than just sitting in chairs. You see, sometimes it's about the way we stand. On September 23rd, 1976, the presidential debate between the Republican challenger Jimmy Ford and the Republican challenger Gerald Ford and the Democratic challenger Jimmy Carter was underway. And in the middle of this debate, there was a power outage, causing the broadcast to lose audio and lighting for 27 minutes. And in the 27 minutes of silence, the two presidents were forced to ask themselves the most important question of their lives: to sit or not to sit? For that was the question. And in the end, they chose not to sit. Gerald Ford later states in an interview, "I think both of us were hesitant to take a seat in that moment, because it would represent that we weren't physically or mentally able to handle a problem like this." Both presidents knew the country wasn't going to elect a sitting president. It would only elect a standing one. Because the idea of choosing whether to sit or to stand could be as simple as wanting to rest our bodies, or as powerful as determining if someone is capable of leading an entire nation. Now that we've analyzed that there's sometimes more than meets the eye when it comes to chairs, sometimes what we discover isn't always so pleasant. According to a study done by the World Health Organization, the average citizen spends approximately 6 hours a day sitting. To make matters worse, the average American spends almost 10 hours a day sitting. And there are only 24 hours in a day, meaning that we spend approximately 42% of our entire lives in chairs. Yet despite this, we never seem to acknowledge their existence, even though we use them religiously. Take, for example, you, all lovely people. Most, if not all of you, are sitting in a chair-like device listening to me give this speech. But when we sit down, we're not actually consciously aware that we're doing the sitting down action. However, remove the chair from the equation and imagine you have to listen to me give this speech while standing. Yeah, I know I wouldn't do it either. That sounds horrible. But the point is, we use chairs wherever we go, be it at home, at work, at school, or important monumental events such as weddings or graduations, and even writing speeches. Because truth be told, without chairs, I, along with thousands of other high schoolers, wouldn't be able to share our message with you. Because in the end, this speech isn't just about chairs, but it's about the way we take chair-like devices for granted, and how this analysis is synopsis to so many other instances in our lives. Like with recent events like the COVID-19 pandemic, humanity has been forced to spend more time in our chairs and less time with the people we love. Friends and family, all those that we expect to be there for us in our lives, but the moment they disappear is when we finally decided to acknowledge their existence, the same way that we fail to acknowledge chairs. But through this isolation, we're able to truly value those people and understand that maybe we spend a little too much time sitting down. So the next time you see a chair, understand that without it, we're not able to take a seat, so that when we're ready, we can finally take a stand. Thank you.